Okay, so today we're going to be doing a flight in the Beechcraft Bonanza G36 in Microsoft Flight Simulator. To give you some idea where I got the flight plan from, and to give you some ideas about how you might be able to fly online with people if you haven't done so already, I started a website called VirtualFlight.Online about 6 months or a year ago. I can't remember how long ago it was now. And the website is just based on Blogger, and I post up the flights that are coming up that we're organising. So the next one will be this coming Sunday, the 20th of June at 9 PM. There's always full instructions on the post about it, and you get a picture to look at of the flight. So we're starting at Grand Junction in this case, and we're going to try and follow this river valley down through the mountains down to Alexandar. I did think about going further around, but I try to limit the flights to 150 miles, which usually works out about an hour and a half. Okay, so yes, on the site we post a flight. There is also a Discord server and a Facebook group. So if we go and have a quick look at the Discord server, here it is in Discord. The major attraction of Discord is it has chat or voice communication. So we leave Discord running in the background while we're flying, and everybody joins the voice channel, and everybody can just chat en route, and it just makes it a nice social friendly atmosphere. It's worth saying the flights are very kind of relaxed. There's no strict rules about flying particular aeroplanes, although we do kind of say to aim for about 120 knots ish, depending on what aeroplane you're flying, unless it's obviously a bush flight with something slower. There's obviously lots and lots of stuff in the Discord server, so we've put channels in for obvious things like the upcoming events. So you can see here the next event coming up is the Grand Junction flight, so there'll always be the next event in the events channel. You can invite other people to just come flying with you, and if you come and look through here, you'll see lots of people chattering about going flying and joining each other. So they'll just come in during the week and join the voice channel. We are organising our events on Sunday evenings at the moment, kind of the official, in quotes, events. But yeah, anybody can come and post an invitation to go fly with them whenever they like. Other than that, we've got the Facebook group as well. So if we go and have a quick look in the browser, there's the Facebook group, Virtual Flight Online, as well as obviously conversation and communication within the group. We've also got the events are duplicated into here as well, so you can see the upcoming events listed and any past events, so you can see any of the old events that people have put in. On the website as well, we've also got events in here as a Google Calendar, so you can subscribe to that Google Calendar if you want. So again, it's duplicated into there as well. Alongside that, if you want the flight plan I originally designed, instead of just going from the details of the event, because if we go and look on the next event, for example, you can see the full details are in Google Maps as well. Sorry, Google Calendar as well. But if you actually want the flight plan as a flight plan file without having to make it yourself, you can go to Flight Plans, and it will redirect you over to Google Drive, and each of the flights is in here. So if we scroll down, we will see the Grand Junction flight is VF024. So if we open that up, we can see there's several files in here. There's a picture of the route. There's the description exactly the same as elsewhere, so it's in Google Docs obviously. But there's also the little nav map file, and there's the Microsoft Flight Simulator formatted PLN file. So all you do is right click on that and download it. So this is all publicly accessible. You don't need a Google account to get in here. If you just follow the link from the site, it will bring you into the flight plans folder, and then you can right click and download the PLN file. If you download the entire folder, so say you wanted the whole folder and you right click on that and download, it will zip it up first and then download it. So you'll get a zip file with the contents of the folder in it. Okay, I think that's probably all I need to cover about the site, and it's all free to join. We've got quite a lot of members now actually. If we go and have a quick look, there's 84 members on the Facebook group as of today, the 16th of June. If we go and have a look in Discord, there's 19 people online at the moment. Obviously that doesn't mean they're in this survey, because you can see there's nobody in chat. They're just somewhere on Discord at the moment. But there's also another 225 of us that are offline at the moment, so it might be coming online at some point. Generally on a flight we've had anything from kind of 10 or 15 people on one of the organised flights up to as much as 25, 30 people. It really does vary. So, and having a lot of people in the air doesn't mean everybody's talking at once. People are usually very civil, and they give each other a chance to speak. But it does mean you get to know a lot of people all over the world, and you hear some really interesting stories about aviation along the way. So it's great fun. Anyway, let's get cracking. So we've got our Bonanza sat here. What's the time? Let's go and check. I've moved the time so it's daylight at least. We've got it at 6 o'clock in the morning. So we're going to be departing Grand Junction at 6 AM. So let's get in the aeroplane. We're going to shortcut starting it up with Control E. And the engine's firing up. And that guy's going to walk straight in front of us. That's really nice of him, isn't it? So we go and switch the display on. And we can see, I've already loaded the flight plan, so we can see the general direction we're going. We've got a caution there, and the caution is going to be that we have not turned on the pitot heat. So we're going to turn the pitot heat on. We'll turn our lights on, strobe, beacon, nav lights. It's a fairly warm part of the world, so we don't have to worry about icing. I've actually got to quite like, I know a lot of people don't like the Beechcraft Bonanza, but I quite like it. I'm not sure why I'd like it, but I do. So let's open the engine up. Oh, maybe not. That guy's walking right in front of us as we're about to pull away. That was really nice of him. Before we do that, let's just go and quickly go to the volume mixer in Windows. Yeah, let's turn the volume up so you get to hear the engine. Oh, we got a caution again. Low volts. That's probably because the engine's not running very high. Yeah, as soon as I open the engine up. Come off the wheel brakes. So we want flaps to 1 for takeoff. There's hardly any wind, like the windsocks dangling almost on the floor. So we don't really need to worry about runway direction. Shouldn't be any other traffic around. I think I'm the only person out here, and it's the middle of the night in the real world, in this part of the world, so I doubt I'm going to see anybody. So I just thought it might be fun to fly the route. I may pause the recording during the flight so you don't have to watch hours and hours of me just flying along in a straight line, but we're going to fly the valleys, so it should make it quite entertaining. So full throttle. Let's get back on the centre line. So 40 knots, 50 knots. Let's tune the QNH in as well while we're at it. You can press B as a shortcut to do that, by the way, in Flight Simulator. It will set up your altitude or altimeter. So rotating. And we're off the runway, gear up, flaps up, and we're climbing out. Okay, so this is Grand Junction we're just climbing out over. So we're going to begin a left turn to start following our flight plan. So you can see there's some fairly serious hills in front of us. But this is part of the challenge of doing the VFR, general aviation flights, is finding your own route. So to help you do that, you can double check across to Little Nav Map or something similar, whichever mapping software you like to use. So let's do that while we're flying. We can see, yeah, unless we go a long way around, we could go over to the right, couldn't we, and go through this Palisade Canyon. So we go around the edge of this hill.
500.
So I'm going to pull the engine back. As you can see, you've got RPM and here. There we go. So yeah, most of the fun of doing these flights is just finding your own route through the hills and along the valleys, and we encourage people to fly not terrifically low level, but you know, to do some navigation along the way. So let's open the engine up. Push that bit forwards. 98%. Turbulence off the hill there. So going to have a look at the map. So making good progress. I'm going to shut Discord down to get it out of memory to free up some resources. I'll shut the browser down as well. So all we have running now is Little Nav Map and the simulator. So let's have a look from outside. Sun's coming up. Hooray! So when we turn this corner we should get some sun in our eyes, which will be good fun. Should we increase the range on this so we can see where we are? So okay, we'll make this turn. See what the next valley looks like, and then I'm going to pause recording until I get to the next waypoint, because this could all get tremendously boring for you, and then I'll start recording again on approach to to each airport. Does that make sense? So we're going to kind of cheat and follow the road. Okay, I'm going to pause recording here and I'll see you on approach into the first airfield. Okay, so we're back in the cockpit. We're coming up to the next airfield, which if we go and look on the little nav map, we've made loads of progress. And we're coming up to Rifle, Garfield County, Kilo Romeo, India, Lima. So you can see the lights out there in the bottom of the valley. It's worth saying the scenery around here is absolutely breathtaking. Let's go and look from outside. We've just come down through the valleys, so we're in this kind of basin now. Forwards, so you can see over the nose. So we can see there's the airfield down here. Okay, so we need to have a quick look on the map and see where the wind is coming from. So, yeah, we're coming the right direction for the wind. We want to be flying into the wind for landing. So we're going to cut the engine. And just do a nice steady approach, a visual approach straight in to Garfield, or Rifle County, sorry. Rifle Garfield County, get it right. So the Beechcraft Bonanza is a bit of a brick. It's quite heavy and it's quite fast. So you have to be aware of that on landing. You can't really hang on the wing like you can some of the other aeroplanes, and it's low wing as well, remember. So you have to come in quite fast. But it's actually quite docile. So it flaps down. And you have to remember to put the gear down as well. So gear down. Sun reflecting off that water is really helpful, isn't it? Okay, let's get on the centre line. We're slightly off to the left. Turbulence. There's a ridge right in front of the runway if you look, so we may get a kick of turbulence there as well. There's some telegraph wires as well, so make sure we don't go in too low. So it's on a plateau, isn't it? We're just going to do a touch and go. Pump down. Back up again. Gear up. Flaps up. We climb out of the airfield. Now there's the other side of this plateau, look, there's another gorge down there. It's a shame, if I had VR I could look over the side and show you it more easily. It's interesting. Okay, so I'm going to pause recording again and I'll start recording at the next airfield. Okay, I thought it might be interesting because we're coming into kind of a mountainous approach to the next airfield. I thought it might be worth recording it. So we're going to fly in along the bottom of the valley. It should be quite fun. So let's center the view up, give you at least some view of where we're going. I'm just pressing space to sit up or down in the seat so I can see the instruments or where I'm going. So it's behind this big hill here that we can see we're approaching is the airfield. So we're going to go around to the left. Now let's just go and check the wind. Little nav map, there's no wind. Almost crashed trying to get the right window back. This is the problem of having only one monitor. So there we go. Dive down into the valley. So watching that road, if we just keep to the right, we will eventually end up at the airfield. So similar to before, we just get the speed down during approach, get the flaps down and the wheels down, and end up hopefully a nice smooth landing. Some interesting geography around here. So there's that fork, so we turn this way. We should see the runway out here. On the right side, is it, of the valley, or the left side? I guess we'll find out anytime soon. So start getting rid of the speed. There's no wind, so we can pretty much pick our approach. And there's no shame in spotting the runway. Here it is, we've got visuals. There's no shame in spotting a runway. So we've got gear down, flaps down. Going for full flaps this time, because it looks like a fairly short runway. A stall warning, that's why I was getting back on the power. There's our touch and go, and we climb back out. So gear up, flaps back up to flaps 1. We're right on the limit of stalling. We're not going to worry. Just keep the nose at a fairly shallow angle, and we're away. So yeah, that's kind of one of the things you have to manage with the Beechcraft Bonanza, is it's heavy and it's fast, and it doesn't like climbing out. It doesn't have the ability to climb out like something like the Grand Caravan could, for example. So you have to maintain speed. So I guess the lesson learned from that approach is I slowed down too much. I should have kept my speed up and done quite a fast touch and go. Okay, so we're off across this plain. I am going to pause recording and I'll be back when we're a bit closer to the next airfield, which, if we have a look at the map, is going to be Aspen Pitkin, which apparently is one of the most dangerous airfields in the US. And we'll find out when we get there. So I'll pause recording. I'll see you in a moment. Okay, so we're on approach into Aspen Pitkin. We're just coming through this valley, and you can see on the bottom corner of the map down here on the G1000, you can see the airfield. So we just need to come along. Let's zoom in. Just need to fly along here and we'll come into the airfield. So I think this airfield's only kind of regarded as dangerous if you're in a big commercial jet. I think in a general aviation plane we'll be absolutely fine. So we just fly along the valley. Hopefully we'll get visuals on it fairly quickly, seeing as it's quite a big airfield, it's not tiny. think the rendering of the world in Microsoft Flight Simulator is stunning, isn't it? I think, you know, all the buildings that you see represent real buildings. Obviously there's some problems with the elevation of water, but I'm sure that will get better over time with the artificial intelligence as they make improvements of interpreting the satellite mapping data. So let's see where we're going. So we follow this, the bottom of the valley. Nearly there. We should get visuals. There's the runway. We have visuals on it. Can you see it out there? There's the lights on the end. Okay. Yeah, so if you imagine you were approaching it from the south, you'd have that enormous hill in the way. Which for us isn't a problem in a tiny little Beechcraft. So, flaps to 1. We'll be mindful of not getting too close to stall speed this time, which should make our climb out easier. So, gear down. We're about 50% throttle at the moment. Obviously dropping the flaps and the gear has introduced some drag, so you can see the speed bleeding off. So I'm going to open the throttle and hold us at about 85 knots, if I can. Let's hold at this altitude. You will notice as well we're fairly high altitude. We're at 7,500 feet. I've just calibrated the altimeter. It was 7,700 feet. So the air is pretty thin, which also explains why I was having trouble climbing out of the previous airfield. So it's 75 knots. I don't want to go any slower than that. So that explains why we were having trouble climbing out. Obviously we're at high altitude, the air is thinner. Which also explains why we're having to leave the... We might need to lean the engine out as well. I hadn't really thought about that. Okay, so touch and go coming. It's a very long runway. Obviously you could land because Aspen is, I guess, for the skiers. This is where the jets are going to come with all the holiday makers. Okay. So let's just hold it straight on the centre line. Speed up, back up to 90 knots and climb out, gear up, which obviously reduces the drag, so we should accelerate even harder. Coming up to 95 knots. A beautiful part of the world, isn't it? Obviously you can see some of the ski runs up in the hills up there, so in the winter time. Quite exciting place to come, I imagine. So we're going down that valley next. I will pause recording again. I'll just get the plane stabilised before I switch applications to do it. I'll pause recording and see you on approach to the next airfield. Let's have a quick look. The next airfield is going to be, it's quite a long leg look, 43 nautical miles. So again, it's going to be winding your way down the canyon to get to central Colorado regional. So before this plane tips over and crashes, let's just stabilise that. and then pause recording. Okay, so we're just approaching the what's the name of the airfield again? Colorado Regional, Central Colorado Regional Airfield, and the wind, we've got a tailwind, so I'm going to do a left circuit around the airfield to come and do the touch and go. So we're just descending. So again, we're at quite high altitude, look, so we're just coming through 9,000 feet. So flying this route with a Cessna is going to be pretty much a no-go, because they start to struggle at about 15,000 feet. And some of the mountain passes I just had to come through, we were up around that kind of altitude, so not a great idea for a small plane like a Cessna. So you can see we're just passing the airfield on our left. So left circuit means doing left turns. So we're doing the downwind leg at the moment, and then we'll turn across the wind for the base leg, and then turn in for the approach. It's a nice long runway, so it's going to be an easy landing. Don't have to worry too much about judging distances or anything. Okay. Turn base. Obviously with the VR headset this would be very easy. It's a bit more challenging. Gear down with a bit more challenging with just a monitor and the mouse and a joystick, trying to juggle all of them at once. Flaps down. Touch and go done. Gear back up. Remember, we're at high altitude, so we're not going to get the purchase, we're not going to get the power to be able to pull out easily. Should we have a play with the mixture in a minute? No, we'll leave it alone. Okay, so the next airfield, we're going to turn back south. Let's have a quick look while we're turning at the map. So the final leg of the journey is across the bottom of this valley to Alexandar. So it's 16 miles.
500.
So just like the rest of the video, to save on some time, I'm going to pause recording. We'll just stabilise the aircraft. Let's trim it out so it doesn't do anything untoward. Go. So we're climbing out gently, aircraft is trimmed, so I'm going to pause recording and I'll see you on approach to Alexandar. Okay, so Alexandar is directly in front of us, we just can't see it easily at the moment, so let's go and look at the wind. So we've got 4 knots from the west, so we should turn left and come in on this side. So what we'll do, we'll fly over and do a left circuit and come into the pattern. So we're going to fly straight over the top of Alexandar and then turn left. Okay, so you can see the airfield down here, I believe. It's difficult to see, isn't it? Yeah, there's the runway down there. So we're going to fly straight over it towards the hills and then turn left and go into a left pattern into the airfield. Fly over the town and come back in. So there's the airfield. give it a moment. Let's have a look from outside, make it a bit more fun for you. So we'll begin our left turn now. So we probably want to be heading about 80 degrees, somewhere in there. Maybe 70 degrees. Level up. There's the runway over there. Okay, there's a huge hill coming. So we'll turn before we get there. Come off the throttle because we're going to descend now. Again, we can keep an eye out of the window for the airfield. Lost the airfield. It's up here. So it's another one on a platform. On a raised, yeah, so there's a, could get some turbulence on approach. So yeah, if you wanted to come and fly this route with us, we will be doing this at 9 o'clock on Sunday evening in the UK, which I guess works out about 2 in the afternoon for West Coast America, 4 in the afternoon for East Coast America. If you're in Europe, you're going to be an hour later, so, or maybe even 2 hours later if you're further to Eastern Europe. But yeah, Sunday evening, sorry, we'll be doing this. Okay, gear down. Nice of them to cut the trees down on the approach, wasn't it? And we're down. Flaps back up. And we'll just roll out to the end of the runway and then taxi in. Oh, brakes on. We could make this turn actually. Let's go and park up and then we'll call this a day really. So yes, this is a typical example of one of the GA flights we do, and obviously it's much more fun if there's 10 or 15 of you in the pattern coming in, you know, trying to all arrange yourselves and arranging spacing between yourselves and chattering away along the way. So even if you have 30 or 40 miles in between airfields, the time whistles past because everybody's talking and telling stories and sharing tips and getting problems solved with their simulator and things like that. So yeah, go to VirtualFlight.Online and check out each week what the flights are going to be, or go into Discord if you want someone to fly with, and go and post an invitation. So I'll just go and park up over here. Try and avoid these enormous lights. Wheel brakes on. Cut the mixture, and there we go. And that'll do for today, I think. So our little Beechcraft Bonanza has made it right the way across the mountains from Grand Junction to Alexandar. The flight plan's available on the website, as I said earlier, and hopefully I'll see you flying soon. Okay, I'm going to stop recording there.